Hi everyone, good morning. I am here with another weekly morning messages from the Fae, and it's a very beautiful message this morning. So I'm going to get right into it. As usual, I'm using the Tarot of the Hidden Realm, the Celtic Spirit Oracle, and the little mini Forest Fae deck. A pairing that I just absolutely love. So let's just get right into it. Let's see. So the first card I pulled is the Two of Wands. And I love this card in Tarot of the Hidden Realm. It sort of reminds me of the Sun card. It has like such a bright, cheerful, like happy energy, this Two of Wands. And as we know, the Wands are so much about creativity and passion. And I think specifically in this deck, from this message from the Fae, I feel like we're getting, sort of that idea of decisions and choice. It's the number two. So much of that, the twos always has to do with some sort of choice or decision or balance. And I feel like so often we use our minds, we think about decisions, we think about things, and we lead with our mind, or sometimes we just lead with our emotions, like our heart and, letting emotions sort of guide. But how often do we lead with our passion for something? So I feel like this is definitely a message sort of giving us the idea that maybe we should let our passions guide some of our choices, and having, a passion for certain things, and not letting, everything else that we have to do in life kind of get in the way of pursuing passion, and how we can do things with passion, even things we don't want to do. Like, we can probably, kind of let that creativity that we have in everything that we do kind of come forward. And this card just looks so carefree. They just look so, they look so excited about whatever it is they're doing. Like, who knows what they're doing or what they're going to be doing. So it's sort of like the ace gives us that spark of creativity. That's like that the essential elements of fire, that wand energy. And then two is sort of like that decision of what direction we're going to take that energy in. So I feel like this is sort of giving us that message that maybe we can let passion projects take a front seat for the time being. And I know that's not always easy. I know we don't always have time. I think last week the reading spoke about being bereft of time and energy. But maybe like we should lead with our passions for a little while. And I think that message is sort of reiterated and solidified in this next card, which is the World, which is, typically a positive card that we usually see. We know it's the end of the major arcana. It's that end of a cycle, fulfillment of something. And I love how Barbara Moore talks about in the guidebook that, it's that we're always going through cycles, and that just because one cycle ended, we could be in a different cycle that hasn't come to an end yet. So, the World to me really just kind of reiterates that we have there's something that has been fulfilled in our lives. Maybe a passion project has been completed, or maybe that decision to start, leading with passion and finding your passion and using your creativity in everything you do. And this is signaling that that's going to give you fulfillment. You're going to get a lot of fulfillment out of that. And I love that the Hangman came up next to this, because the Hangman and the World, Rachel Pollack talks about the relationship between these two cards, in that we sort of see the World in the Hanged Man, and we see the Hangman in the World. The Hangman, as we know, is sort of that surrender, that a lot of times like putting your ego aside, and surrendering to what your true self is, and sort of like turning inward and understanding that society and the world at large may not, accept, but you need to accept your true self and sort of be true to yourself, and, lead with your passion. And so I see this, these two like being very related in terms of the World, sort of by the World now, you've sort of let go of that idea that your fulfillment, the way you reach fulfillment and find fulfillment in your life is really based on surrendering that idea that you have to live up to anyone else's, expectations or what you should be in life. And I love that if we like sort of flip this card around in this deck, they're sort of very parallel. They look like they're in the same sort of position. And when you turn him this way, he looks so at peace. Like I said, sort of that surrender of the ego self and just, taking all the lessons and the challenges you faced and understanding that whatever you went through and however you handled it was appropriate for you, and that you need to be true to yourself. And then the world is sort of that letting, you've really just reached that understanding that it's whatever guides you and your passions and your beliefs that you need to stick to. So I like in the Hanged Man, we talk about how, the world hasn't changed, you've changed. You've changed perspectives. You looked at things from a different view, and the world hasn't necessarily changed, but you have transformed after that process. So I just love that these two cards came up together, and I'm going to leave them like this just because I love the way that synchronicity, they look like they're like literally in the same position, and you can see sort of that relationship. And I love that we picked this card. I'm going to go to the Celtic Spirit Oracle because we picked surrender, and surrender is exactly what the Hanged Man is about. That surrendering of the ego and letting go, let go, freedom, flow, letting go of those societal expectations and what the world, tells us we need to be or how to think, or, how we're going to be judged in the world. We need to sort of surrender some of that burden that we carry around of, what will people think? And I've learned, that's a huge lesson I've learned in my life, and I'm still learning it, but I have worked really hard on letting go of what other people think, and sort of understanding that my decisions are my decisions, and being who I am is so important to my life, and, just being happy and finding fulfillment and finding my passions and pursuing those passions and having great joy in just being myself. And so surrendering, like the Hanged Man here, and here we have this beautiful fairy, and her eyes are closed, and you can see her heart's open, her arms are open. She's surrendering. She's going with the flow. She's letting go of all those, expectations that have been put on her, and she's just being, and I think that's a great message. It's a very synchronous message, the Hanged Man and surrender. And then we have the Forest Fae deck, which I love this little Forest Fae deck. So this says Hedge Guardians, and it says walk Widdershins and seek the land under the hill. To me, this Forest Fae deck is sort of always reiterating that we should always seek spirit and our guides. And in this case, for me, these messages from the Fae, so the Fae, in those liminal spaces, they're always there. And to me, this always just like reiterates that these messages are, pretty clear and coming through, and they're powerful, and there's always, a clear message coming through. And then we have the Numina, which says seek inspiration in twilight wanderings. So from this, I kind of get, it's like twofold. To me, this is telling us maybe we should pay attention to our dreams, the things that are happening in our sleep, twilight wanderings, the places that we go in our dreams, and how if we can remember our dreams, it's not always easy. I know I don't always remember everything that has happened, but even just little pieces that we can take away from our dreams, are messages. I kind of fully believe that we receive messages, and you can kind of believe messages from whoever you feel, connected to, but I feel like in our dreams and in those overnight hours, that those twilight wanderings, we get so many messages. I'm also taking this message for myself to mean like to maybe start really pursuing like my passions and creativity and seeking inspiration in the sort of twilight hours. I am a morning person. I am up so early for work every day. So even on the weekends when I don't have to be up, I'm still up at 5:30 in the morning. It's just my cycle, my little clock, that is just, my internal clock is on that schedule. So I am up so early. So I do so much in the morning. And I sort of find all my inspiration and energy in the morning. And so I'm thinking maybe to take this as inspiration for maybe like sitting down, and doing more like tarot readings, or, working in my grimoire, or, doing spellcraft in the twilight hours. There's magic in the dawn, but there's also magic in the dusk, in those twilight hours. And I feel like that might be a message that I can kind of switch things up, and I might find, even more inspiration, in that second half of the day, sort of in those twilight hours, at night when the sun goes down. We all know the moon is so magical. And I feel like there's such a connection between the fae and the moon. So, maybe I need to sort of switch up my, spiritual practice and just the things that I'm passionate about, and, sort of like do them at night, and sort of, maybe do them by candlelight, which I love doing everything by candlelight. So maybe just, doing things by candlelight and just really finding the magic in that space. I always feel like this Forest Fae deck is telling us that those liminal spaces are really important to pay attention to, and that there's really magic in those liminal spaces, and the liminal spaces exist in our everyday world. So I a really beautiful reading today. I hope you took away some important messages. I definitely like the idea of surrender and just sort of surrendering. So I think today I'm going to try a little surrendering to the day, and kind of just see where it takes me, and not try to plan too much, and just sort of have my Sunday be a lovely day of letting go and being free and going with the flow. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.